Hello and welcome to Low Budget Gaming and welcome to another first Descendant video. So I finally have my ultimate Blair video. Now I tend to farm my ultimate, so it takes me a little longer. 18 hours per research of the individual parts and then 36 for the whole Descendant. And for some reason one of the Transcendent mod wouldn't drop for me. So that took a little longer. Plus I got sidetracked with the external components and the um, Plague set for Freyna, Keelan builds and things like that. Anyway, I finally have the two mods, and the good news and the bad news here is, as far as the build is concerned, I did not really have to change anything. I used the photon imprinter, transferred the catalyst from normal Blair, and if you remember my Blair video from a couple of weeks ago, this is exactly the same. You can play around with one or two mods and change things, but I did not really see much point in doing that because of the way these two mods work. So this video is mostly just explaining the two new Transcendent mods because the build is identical to my normal Blair build. Only difference is the two new mods and how they play. So what I'll do is I'll just explain the two mods. I'll tell you which I prefer, which ones to use for Sigma Sector, 400% dungeons, etc. And just my observations with this. I will talk about the new external component set, the Firebrand one, and what reactors you need and things like that. So first up, let's look at the next level recipe. So over here, it changes the first and the third. The first one, instead of sort of putting the flames on the ground, you start it once and then you can run and it'll keep creating the flame zones. So basically you do this and as you keep running and behind you, the flame zones are being created. This has a pretty good duration and you can create this for a while. When you are out of this, you can start it again and you keep creating these flame zones, and enemies that step on it or step in this zone, they'll take damage and so on. So you see we have 10 stacks. It works the same way. It'll increase your crit rate with the number of flame zones. You press your second ability, you get your MP back, and MP consumption is pretty low overall. The first one is a little energy hungry, but if you use it properly, it has long duration, so you'll get your MP back anyway. So this does take quite a bit of MP, as you can see here, but the duration is pretty long, so you don't need to spam it, and you can see we get it back. So even if you spam it a few times, because of the low cooldown which we have here, you are still doing fine here. You're not really short of MP, and even if you are, you press your second ability and you get your MP back. Okay, so you can see now we are very low. Press your second, and there you go, you're almost full again. So this is your first ability. What is it called actually? Merciless Cuisine. The second ability for the MP is still the same, the Extinguish. The third ability, Hot Delivery, it just sort of changes the way the fire works and there are levels to this. So if you do this, let me do this. And so you can just do a lot of damage. It sort of spreads out and it makes it very hard to see. That is my big issue with Blair's third flame ability. Fire deals damage, inflicts burn, etc. Fire has up to 3 levels and changes levels when skill effect range reaches a certain value. So it's based on your range. So yeah, I just don't particularly like this one because it's hard to see. Now you can do something fancy, which is start your first, and then if you are in dungeons like, I don't know, Seed Vault or something where things are narrower as you're passing through, you can burn the enemies while laying down the fire as well. So you're just an insane inferno walking through like this. So you're leaving a trail of fire on the ground and just burning everything in front of you. Ridiculous and fun at the same time. So that is the next level recipe. The fourth ability, your fireball is the same and your passive is the same. Now the killer recipe, this is the one that was giving me trouble. I couldn't get this from Pyromania, but we got it. Now this changes quite a few things, and I do like the meatball situation here. So the first one is spicy meatball. He fires a meatball forward to the enemy. Meatballs explode and cause explosion damage and inflict burn. The number of meatballs depends on the skill duration. Now I've tried increasing the duration and I did not really see much of a benefit. So right now I have a cooldown and crit damage reactor. I tried with a duration reactor. I also put 2 pieces of the firebrand to increase the range, I mean the duration as well. And I only noticed one extra meatball with all of these shenanigans. So uh, what I'll do here is I'll fire the meatballs in the air with my 7-second duration, and then I'll slow down this part, and you can count. I'm counting 10 meatballs here. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, I count 10 over there, and I think that is plenty. All right, so these meatballs, what you do is you press your Q and you fire your meatballs at the various enemies. And notice we now have a second bar under the MP, which is the custom resource called Chef's Touch. Now, this Chef's Touch, you can use your Chef's Touch if you use your first ability or your third ability, you fill that bar up. Then when you have Chef's Touch, you can use your second and your fourth ability. Now the way the fourth ability works is you can just move your mouse and you target up to 6 enemies, and then you release them and it will hit 6 enemies. Okay, so over here it says Deadly Feast. Max target count 6, max fire count times 5. Now I'm not sure if this is a bug, if it's not written correctly, or if I'm not understanding this correctly. You can target 6 people, which we saw, but it also fires 6 of these fireballs or whatever. So let me just put 6 enemies here instead of the 9. Okay, so let's just fill up the Chef's Touch. Okay, fill that up. Now what I'll do is I'll not make them invincible. Okay, and now we'll target all 6 of them. So you just have to move. You can see we are targeting all 6, and we are hitting all 6 and killing all 6. So it says target count 5, but I'm seeing 6 here. So again, I don't know if this is not correctly displayed here or whatever, but yeah, so I'm seeing 6 enemies being hit here. So yeah, so that is the killer recipe. And in both cases, I did not see much of an issue with the MP consumption. So yeah, so we have almost max range here. Um, we have 5-second cooldown and 5-second cooldown here. Now I did try playing around a little bit with different mods like multi-talented and things like that. And I really did not see much of a point in doing that. You can try multi-talented if you want and have your meatballs ready faster. But personally, I did not prefer the killer recipe transcendent mod as much as I like the next level. The reason for this one is when you're playing this in a public setting, the killer recipe, by the time you have your meatballs lined up and you're targeting enemies, your teammates, Inez, Welby, Frena, Bunny, all those people have killed the enemy, so you'll probably hit 2 meatballs. You won't be able to generate your custom resource, and then by the time you try to target your enemies, they're already dead. So this would work better if you are playing solo. I tried it solo. It's a bit of fun, but it's not the fastest. Again, Inez and those people will be faster, but for a bit of change and a little bit of fun, this is fine. The one I preferred was next level recipe, because you could still hold your own even in a group setting with other people. You're laying down the fire on the ground, you are burning enemies with your third in front of you. So you are actually doing a lot of damage even if you can't see the enemies in front of you with your third ability. But this one seemed more practical, both in solo as well as in a public setting. So I would personally prefer this. And yeah, so that is it. That is the build. Again, nothing complicated here. And yeah, you can play around and change 1 or 2 mods and things like that, but I really did not see much point in doing that. So let's look at the inversion reinforcement. I'm taking the adrenaline rush as usual to get the extra power and range. We are taking the cooldown, and you can take any of the others. I have biodensity. Again, we don't really need this, but you can use this, or you can use one of the enhanced focus rounds or whatever. Um, for the Arche Tuning, I tried to go here and get the duration, so we have a nice clean whole number 7 seconds, because we have 1 second damage interval, so I wanted it to be a nice round number. We take the critical hits, we take the critical hit damage, we take the cooldown here, we take the MP, the big one here, purple one over here, We take all the skill damage over here, range here, and the big gold one here. And that is really it, basically. Um, I did not really see much point of taking more MP recovery out of combat, in combat. We have now the ability to have fully enhanced external components. So we have maxed out the Slayer set. Again, the Slayer set is better. There is a new Firebrand set here. This gives you range and duration with 2 pieces, and then with the 4 pieces, it reduces your movement speed. And then enemies which have burn effects, they reduce their resistance. I really did not see much benefit of it. You are getting a nice, clean 26% increase with the Slayer set, and the skill cost is not an issue like we saw. MP consumption on Blair isn't high to begin with, so we are doing fine. We have 370 MP anyway. So yeah, this ability to enhance your external components, this has made a big difference to all these things like MP and stuff, because sometimes in the past you wouldn't get a max MP roll, which would mess up your build, but now it's a pretty standard safe set to use with any skill-based descendants here. Yeah, I did not really see much point of switching to this one over the standard Slayer set with all the MP rolls. As for the Reactor, I'm using cooldown and crit damage because Blair has high crit. We are taking crit damage as one of the options, and cooldown, if you are not bothered with cooldown, you could take crit damage and dimension. That would be the best in slot in terms of power. You can also take, like this one here, duration and crit damage if you wanted that extra meatball, or you could take duration and cooldown, but crit damage as one of the stats is best. And then you can have second one if you want power, you want dimension or fire. Dimension is better, or cooldown. Cooldown I think is always useful in most builds so that you can use your abilities more frequently. But overall, Blair is a very balanced, I would say, ultimate descendant. Has good damage, he can hold his own, but yeah, I would prefer the next level Transcendent mod, as it feels like a slight upgrade over the classic chef. The killer recipe, like I said, in solo it can be fun, but in a public setup I did not really see much use of it, because again your teammates are clearing everyone. As for the weapons and stuff, I have the truly deadly arsenal. This would be good. Enemies that are inflicted with the burn status, you'll explode them with your gun. But if you want to run fast, you need a gun with sprint cores. I have a secret garden with 3 sprint cores. You can pick something else like a peacemaker or something. I think he's in a good spot, and yeah, try him out. Easy to get and easy to use. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.